They all opposed this bill because they saw the principle that lay at the heart of the thing. And I must say, they saw it more clearly than some of our allies in Congress, as our dear friend Henry Hyde, who could not understand why we're doing anything so mindless. What was the point of this? Barack Obama saw the matter as Nero did, but apparently he missed the counsel of prudence that was pressed upon Nero by Jerry Nadler of New York. He counseled the people at Nero, the feminists, don't just play rope-a-dope. It's a very modest bill. Don't let them trap you into voting for infanticide, and don't give them an argument. Don't give them the kind of public argument that would only draw attention to the bill. Well, the Democrats went along with advice, and so did the media, who were quite content to play by the Democratic playbook. But the result was that no Democrat in Congress finally voted against this bill. And yet, not a surprise, Barack Obama, alone among national Democrats, explicitly and forcefully led the opposition to the same measure in Illinois to preserve the life of the child who survived. What we've seen from him now is a series of evasions or explanations, with one following another, as he's become caught in the coils. And he brings to mind Lincoln's remark about Stephen Douglas' old adversary, always trying to fine-tune his finesse, his dodging of the question on slavery. And he kept doing that. Lincoln said that Douglas was offering, as Obama was offering, explanations explanatory of explanations explained. As Obama has been caught, he's resorted to the method used against the Swift boat vets. He's claimed that the pro-lifers have lied in giving their account. In fact, he knows that he himself has been giving one false account after another. And what he might have been counting on is the move that worked with the Swift boat people. Just call them liars, and the media will adopt the slander as true. Obama moved here to indict our side as liars, his last desperate move, and his move takes this form. It makes no sense that he would seek to withdraw the protections of the law that the law typically affords any persons, even newborns. On its face, it is so bizarre that it could hardly be believed. Bizarre it truly was, that Obama had the audacity to oppose that protected coverage of the law. That is precisely what he was willing to do, in dramatic contrast with every other Democrat in Congress. So he gives us a version of Chico Marx's old line, who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes? He is counting on the fact that most people will not be able to penetrate the haze to see the core of the matter, and here in compressed form is the core of the matter. Obama is giving us precisely the argument raised by Jerry Nadler when he opposed the bill in Congress. We don't need this bill because the laws in all states protect any child born alive. He missed the holding of Judge Clement Hainsworth, as Phil referred to, in the case of 1977, Floyd versus Anders, where a child survived an abortion, underwent a surgery, and died. The question was posed as to whether there had been an obligation to preserve the life of that child. And the answer tendered by Judge Hainsworth was no, that is not a child protected by the law. It is a fetus marked for termination. In other words, the right to an abortion is the right to an effective abortion or a dead child. With the Born Alive Act, we were calling on the Congress to affirm the limit, to reject the notion that the right to abortion meant the right to a dead child. But there lies the depth of Obama's radicalism. For the sake of protecting that right to abortion unimpaired, for any reason at any time, even at the point of birth, he was willing to withdraw even the protection usually offered by the law to children born alive. For Obama, the right to abortion is nothing less than the right to an effective abortion or a dead child. For all his nimbleness and his Ivy League bearing, that is the unlovely truth of his position. The truth that the media cannot quite grasp or report. With the Born Alive Act, we thought we had the simplest bill that it was possible to use, even with candidates like the two George Bushes who were quite averse to speaking on the issue. We had to impart speech to the Bushes. I thought that George W. Bush could actually take this bill into Connecticut, New Jersey, and melt some of those obdurate Republicans who would like to vote Republican were it not for this issue of abortion. They said, look, we disagree on so many things, but surely we can agree on this one. But to my deep surprise, I was wrong. Mr. Bush never raised the issue and never even endorsed the bill. He did sign it, and he was kind enough to say, when we met before the signing, this is the first step in the changing of the culture. But the second step he made clear was not part of his job description. But now we are in a season when this most modest of all bills is generating a deep resonance because the premises it put into place are now flourishing to challenge Obama, kicking back at him. Yet once again, we have on our side a political leadership that seems to be shorn of political instincts, or rather devoid of how to make use of this bill in framing the public argument. My friend Robbie George in Princeton says about the Born Alive Act, it is the gift that never stops giving for recipients who never want to accept the gift. Senator McCain has professed himself pro-life in the sense of voting in the right way. But people can vote that way because they think their constituents are pro-life. The question is whether McCain understands the grounds of his argument, his judgment. When he favored research involving the destruction of embryos, he rather suggested that he didn't understand the ground of his argument. When he dangled before the country the prospect of choosing a pro-choice running mate, when he suggested that the choice of a running mate who didn't share his understanding of the taking of innocent life was not overall such a big deal, he let us know more than you realize just where this matter stood in his ranking of the issues that are more or less important. On the other hand, we know even more what we have in Barack Obama. And we know with virtual certainty, nay, with death certainty, what he will do on his first day in office. Exactly what Bill Clinton did, which is overturn those Reagan and Bush executive orders on the Mexico policy in the refusal to provide American funds for any entity, domestic or foreign, that performs abortions. Even apart from appointments to the court, we know that an Obama administration, what they can do with executive orders in stamping out the sources of resistance to abortion on demand. McCain is what we have. I move to my close. And we do have the interesting model of the Bushes. They come from circles that are pro-choice, connected with Planned Parenthood. But the first George Bush recognized that he was inheriting the coalition that Ronald Reagan had put together as pro-life. And that coalition was the one who could elect him. And so becoming the leader of a pro-life party, he respected those ingredients and those commitments. John McCain learned very early to absorb obligations and respect the law beyond his own inclinations. That aspect of his character becomes one ground of our hope that this man, not overly reflective on our issues, not exactly capable of explaining the grounds of his judgment, but this man, nevertheless, may recruit to the leading parts of the executive establishment the people who've been drawn to the last three Republican administrations and give us, again, as we have now, an administration that is pro-life at every level, Health and Human Services, Department of Justice, and the White House. And that is the ground